Hello, everyone. This is the Abundance Oracle here on the 17th of October, which is a Friday, and back at home. And boy, I don't know. I've been getting a lot of calls this week. As you know, things have been a little wonky in the markets, gold and silver and Bitcoin. So I wanted to have a conversation with you so I can just sort of cut through all these phone calls and see if we can all just understand where my head's at. As you know, I am no longer a advisor with Morgan Stanley, so I've retired 16 years ago. So this is just my thought process, and it is not advice, it's for entertainment only. So here I am. I am thinking that at this point in time, the majority of people, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't look in the mirror. The majority of people that I'm speaking with today are not billionaires. Some are millionaires, but not everyone has a lot of excess cash. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple different things, and it applies differently to my situation than other people's situations. So a lot of my friends are making ends meet, although it is barely for some of them, and some of them, you know, have an extra $5,000 or $7,000 a month, wondering what to do. So if you're barely making ends meet right now and you have debt, you need to immediately get out of the debt. I don't care how much you have to sacrifice, you need to get out of that debt, because that's going to be like an anchor on your neck this upcoming year. And depending upon what job you have, there's a lot of job that there's going to be layoffs on. I mean, just think about this. If Trump eliminates the IRS, think of how many CPAs are going to be out of work. So I want you to contemplate, what would you do if you not only didn't have a job, but didn't have a new skill set to use to get a new job? And think of how many people there's going to be. I will tell you, when my dad, he had a team that built the backpack for the first moon launch, and he took care of all the bodily functions of the astronauts. So his team made everything that they needed to survive in their suits. When he was done with that, he was so specialized, and his team was done with that, everybody was laid off. He looked and looked and looked for jobs, but there were so many unemployed engineers that they would rather take someone that had general knowledge base. He had a triple engineering degrees, and he also had a specialization. So to find someone, how many people do you know that were interested in making backpacks for functioning for people going to the moon? Zero. And there were so many other engineers that filled spots. He was unemployed and basically retired because it was almost impossible for him to get a job. It took him 8 years, and he switched over to become a realtor. And at the time, that was very prosperous. So I want you to contemplate what would happen to you if your skill set was no longer needed in the planet. No longer needed. And he passed away before Elon came along and built his equipment. So you need to come up with another skill set as backup. maybe as a second job, and start to think about what you're going to do currently to be able to prepare yourself just in case. It's better to be prepared and not need it than not be prepared and need it. Okay, what does it mean to be organized? I call it organized. It means that you have enough food stacked away for, I would say, at least 6 months as a minimum. You have your medical supplies. If you're somebody that takes medicine, you need to start getting each month your medicine like a week or two early, or ask your doctor, can you please prescribe an extra one for me? You need to be able to have supplies. Are you going to need things that are produced in countries that we don't currently have a good relationship? Or are we going to be able to get things, but at twice the price now? And historically, I don't know how many of you know finances on a historical basis. Historically, the Fed at this point in time going forward is probably going to print more money. They've been tightening the money and taking away some currency to try and get us back to normal, but it's not going too well. So we have inflation. But inflation, in all likelihood, if the Fed keeps going, will get worse, not better. So if you're struggling already, you need to get your act together now. You can't wait. And most of the people that I've been speaking to are very bright people. They're just not focused on finance. So now's the time for you to find a second career and build up your finances. So besides the food and anything that needs repair, try and get it repaired. Now, if you don't have a lot of money, sometimes that's going to be hard, but do you know anybody that you can swap with? Maybe you're really good at cleaning. I don't know, I'm trying to think of something. And you can take and say, okay, I'll clean your house once a week for the next 2 months or 3 months if you will come replace my roof or something. I don't know what an equivalent would be, but something like that. So you need to start getting creative now. There's no need to spend your money on things that aren't important. And that includes most of my friends who are mostly women. And a new purse is not needed, ladies. New fancy clothes are not needed. Just start cutting back. It's going to be more important to heat your house soon in the next year. I know we're working on getting the oil prices down, but the electricity, with what AI is going to start consuming to be able to have data centers and things, it's in many states from last year to this year, they're up 50% in costs for just electricity. So, okay, so if you're in that category where you're barely making ends meet and your job is at risk, don't wait to get fired. Right now, start assuming you're going to be fired. Okay, now you're someone who has, let's say, 10,000 extra a month. You want to take and get it out of the Fed notes, the dollar, as people are used to calling it, but it's a Fed note, because those are depreciating in value. You want to put it in something that will retain its worth. Something such as gold and silver. Remember, you need to think long term. Not that you're going to go into gold and silver and sell it out within the next year or 2 or 3. This is a savings that you're going to try and rescue your net worth with. People like Bitcoin. I'm on the fence about Bitcoin because it would be so easy to shut down the internet, and obliterate your capabilities of getting your online account or your wallet, if you take it offline or things like that. So traditionally, people have invested in hard assets, things that you can physically hold, physically tangible. So I think I started a couple years ago, 2 years ago, maybe telling everybody to buy gold, and now the price is up, I think between 4,400. I think we pulled back a little bit today. So you're saying, oh my gosh, you were telling me at 1,600 to buy it. Now it's 4,000. I can't, it doesn't make sense. I'm going to wait till it pulls back. I don't think you're going to see much of a pullback here. You might have some pullback. If you're lucky, you can buy a little bit more. So silver, depending upon what your budget is, if you have an extra $5,000-6,000 a month, you can put it in gold. If you only have $100 a month, you can buy 1 or 2 ounces of silver. You need to start thinking defensively with your finances, not what your finances can buy for you, unless you need new tires. I'm going to get new tires next time I go get an oil change. I'm getting a new half a roof put on the side of the house that gets the sun beaten down on it, and it wears out much faster. I had started to have some drips the other day when it was pouring rain and blowing wind and everything. And a very nice gentleman came out and showed me pictures of what it looked like up on my roof. I was like, yes, please replace that. So niceties should be, unless you have a lot of money, avoided, and necessities and repairs should be focused on. So anyway, the goal is for them to wipe out the middle class. That means the stock market, money in banks. And I know you probably already know, because this is a couple of days late, that Zion Bank is having trouble. And I think it's called First Bank. I don't know First Bank, but I've done business in the past with Zion's Bank for some commercial properties. So you need to just be aware that things that you have already in your mind, how things are going to go, or who's trustworthy and who's not trustworthy, which banks are good, this is all going to change. So it's going to be a bumpy road for quite some time. Now, the last time when we changed currency, it took roughly 8 years for things to get smooth. Hopefully it won't take 8 years this go around. But you need to know that it could take 8 years for the bumps to get ironed out of the road. I hate to be the bearer of bad news because there's good things happening as well. People that have had Bitcoin when they bought it early on, some of them are millionaires now. But if you're just starting to look at it now, you have to get it on a wallet and not need that money, because just in case, it might have to go through some period of time where you can't access it. So you want to do the basics. This is not advice. I'll tell you what I think our basics are: Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, maybe XLM. So, but long term. And if you stake it, you can get dividends. So you have to start learning some of these things, because if our our US dollar is provided on the internet, you need to know how to operate all these things. I believe you should stay away from central bank digital currency, because it's set up to control what you can buy and what you can't buy, depending upon what you do in your life, what a party you affiliate yourself with, other things. So I personally like the freedom to be able to make my own choices. I love you all. Sorry this is so long. I know it's been a while since I've had a serious financial conversation, but please, please, please think about this and act accordingly and go from there. Okay, love you all. I'll try and make tomorrow's a little happier, maybe a surprise. I might even show you that I got my car cleaned today. My handyman cleaned the car, vacuumed it out and cleaned it. You have no idea. Well, if you know me, yes, you do have an idea. It's been probably a year since I cleaned the inside of the car. Anyway, love you all. Please subscribe if you haven't and you're so inclined. Thanks. Have a great night. Bye-bye.